Everyone, in this presentation we will see how video streaming is done using RTSP and RTP protocol. Basically, RTSP is a streaming media protocol in the application layer, which is mainly used to control the transmission of real-time data. RTSP can perform many operations such as playing, pausing and fast forwarding on streaming media. However, RTSP doesn't transmit data itself, but must depend on some services provided by lower layer transport layer protocol. So the question arises, which transport layer protocol RTSP uses for transmission? It uses RTP protocol for real-time data transmission. RTP data protocol encapsulates streaming media and transmits media streams in real time. Each RTP data packet consists of header and payload. Meaning of the first 12 byte of header is fixed and payload may be audio or video data. RTP is the transport protocol for real-time data that is used for transport media data, which is negotiated over RTSP. It provides timestamp, sequence number and other means to handle the timing issue in real-time data transport. Basically, RTSP uses the following four operations for real-time data transmissions. First is setup. Client sends setup request to server and this request describes how to transfer the bit stream. In the message, we have to specify the port number for the RTP socket which we have created. Second is play. Play request start the specified media. Third is pause. Pause request freezes the specified media until the user presses play. Last is tear down. Tear down ends the streaming media session between client and server. Now we will look at the basic RTSP operations in a visual way. First of all, the media, the client will send the setup request to the server and it will reply its request and set up the session. Next, client will request the play operation and the server replies for the same. Then the actual data transmission begins and it will use RTP protocol for real time transmission of audio and video. And if the client sends the pause request, the server pauses the video stream and replies of the same. And if client sends the tear down request, server will stop sending the media and it will send its acknowledgement. Now we will go to the code explanation and demo part. Now we will see the client side socket programming. In this line we are creating the new client and it takes the parameter as root, server address, server port, RTP port and file name, and it will take from the parameters that we will be giving in the command. And this address will be taken as server address, this 1025 number will be taken as server port, RTP port will be 5008 and the file name will be movie.mjpeg. And here we can see that it is taking it as arguments in the command and we are allocating them. So after this we will move to the client.py function. In client.py function we are creating a class client, and in this we have some variables initialized before, and in this we can see the init as 0, ready as 1, playing as 2 and the current state is init, as well as all the basic operations have also assigned the code as 0, 1, 2, 3. The RTSP version is 1.0 and the transport layer is RTP/UDP. The first function is init and it has also initialized function. As we can see that it is taking the file name, RTP port, server port as such variables and initializing in the class. Now the next snippet of the code is used for creating the GUI buttons which we will use for setting up the RTSP GUI interface. The first button is the setup button which uses the command setup movie. The second button is the play button and which uses the command play movie. The next button is pause button. It uses the pause movie function, and the last button is tear down button, which uses the exit client command. And now we will see all the functions one by one. The first function is setup movie. It says that if the state is in it, then it will call the self setup function and send RTSP request to the server. The second function is exit client. As we can know, it is the tear down function, and it will send the tear down request to the server. It also destroys the GUI window and clears the cache. The next function is pause movie. If the current state is playing, then it will send the request to stop to server for pausing the movie. And the next function is play movie. If it says that if current state is ready, means the movie is ready to play, then it will create a thread and start sending the playing request, and the movie will start playing. The next function is listen RTP, and it is used to listen RTP packets which is sent by the server. And this function is using the RTP packet function, and we will see that function now. The RTP packet function has a header which is of data type byte array, and it has size 12. By now we can say that it has size 12, so it has array index 0 to 11, and all the index has split up some fields, like first one is handled into the header. The next some bits are having sequence number. It also contains timestamp, SSRC, and we are assigning this all header into the class header, and its payload is also assigned into that, which contains the original data from the movie. The decode function decodes the RTP packets. The version returns the version of the RTP header, and the sequence number returns the sequence number. The timestamp function returns the timestamp. The payload type returns the returns the type of the data, and the payload function returns the original data, and the get packet function returns the header plus payload, which contains all over the data. And after this function calls, we will see the next function which is used to send RTP request to the server. The first request sent is the setup request. The setup request is that if the request code is set up and current state is in it, then we will send the request. And in all the request, we will increase the RTSP sequence number by 1. As we can see, in the next request is the play request, and it says that if the request code is play and the current state is ready, then we will send this request. And in this also we are increasing the RTSP sequence to 1, and we will in above function we are also printing the data which we are sending to the server, which is going as a request. In this also we are printing all the data like sequence, session ID, port number, etc. Then the next request is the pause request. It says if the request code is pause and the current state is playing, then it will pause. And in this also the sequence number is increased by 1, and we are printing the data which we are sending. The next request is tear down request. It says that if request code is tear down and the self state is not in it, then we will send the tear down request, and it will stop the it will stop the it will stop the data to be sending from the server. In this also we are increasing the sequence number by 1, and all the data we are printing as before, or else we will return, as we don't have any more options here in the function. And this RTSP receive replay function is receiving the replies from the server, and in this mainly whatever replies it is getting, it is decoding. And then if the request is tear down, then we will shut down the window and break the function. Now we will see the server side code. Let's see the server side socket programming code. In this we are creating first server port, and it is assigned by the argument given by this command. And for example, if we give this command, then 1025 will be assigned to the server port. Then we are binding that server port, then we are creating a socket, and we are binding the server port to the socket, and we are putting the socket into the listening mode. Whenever the request from the client comes, it will accept, and while the accept while the request comes, it will receive the request, and it will receive the client info, and it will call the server worker, which will implement most of the function of the server. The server worker.py file has one server worker class, and it has some initialized variables, and in this we can see there are some basic three operations we have seen earlier in the client also. And then the current state is set as init, and in this also the response codes are also assigned some variables. The first init function initialize the client info into the class. Then this run function will create threads to receive RTSP request. Then this is the receive RTPS request, which will receive the RTPS request from the client, and it will be continuously receiving the requests, and it will decode simultaneously all the requests. Then this process RTPS request has many tasks to done, and first of all it will split the request into file name and sequence number type of data. Then we have all the steps for 4 types of requests. The first type of request is setup request. Here it says if the request type is setup, then we will check if the current state is init, then we will update the status for the update its state and set as the setup. And we will also reply the same to the client, as we have already seen that for every request the server has to reply to the client. And then the second request is the play request. In it says that if request type is the play, and we will check if the current state is ready, then we will update the state to the playing. And we will also reply to the client in this as and the next request is the pause request. In it says if the request type is pause, then we will update the current state to the from playing to the pause. And in this also we will reply to the client. And in the tear down request, whatever it may be, we will check only if the request type is tear down, then we will stop sending the data, and we will also close the RTP socket. Then this function send RTP is used to send RTP packets over the UDP transport protocol, and then this function make RTP does the packetization of the data, in which there are some fields which are contained in the header file and which are assigned in the variables. It uses the RTP packet function which we have seen in the client part, and it also helps in generating the packets, and we are also using the encode function of the RTP packet, and this make RTP function returns the packets which we have made. Then this function reply RTP helps in replying all the client's messages, and we are also handling the error messages with this function. Now we have understand all the basic codes for the system. Now we will see one demo for the video streaming. Now we will allocate this side's terminal as a server and this side's terminal as a client. So let me first rename them. So this is our server and this is our client. So we will first give the server as this command, and in this command the first it says that the server port number is 1025, and to the client we will assign this command. In this it says it is the server address. This field suggests the server port number. This is the RTP port number, and this is the file name. After we will run this command, this terminal will be act as a server, and after we will run this command, this will become the client with the same server port number which is we have given here. So this pop-up box will open, and we will first send the setup request. So here the setup request is sent by the client, which has command sequence number as 1, and it also contains the file name and the RTSP version 1.0. It has the client port number basically as the RTP port number which we have given, and it also contains the transport layer protocol RTP and UDP. So this request is sent by the client, and it has been acknowledged by the server, and it has replied that it is processing the setup. So basically it has opened the file which we want to play. Now we will press the play button. So this will start. After pressing the play button, one request with command sequence number 2 has been sent from the client to the server, and it replies with the processing play acknowledgement, and then we will receive the packets sequence number, and it will be arriving in the time delay of 0.5 milliseconds and 0.5 seconds, and we will have packets one by one here, and after that we will send the request of pausing, and it has the command sequence number 3, and it has been received. So the server replies by it has started the processing pause, and now we are not receiving any sequence of the packets. Now we will again start playing, and then we will tear down. So after sending the play request, we will have one command sequence number of 4 which will be sent by the client, and it has been received by the server, and it replies that it has started playing. Now again the sequence number, again the packets with sequence number increasing in order of 1 we are getting from the server to the client, and after that we will push the tear down button, and it will send the request to the server with command sequence number 5, and it has been received. So the data transfer between server and the client stops, and we have done with our video streaming. So this was the demo, and thank you for listening to this.